Today's video is brought to you by Assiniboia Downs Gaming and Event Center. And be sure to tune in to Trust the Profits Live Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern for Monday Night Lights, hosted by Matthew DeSantis.
So let's do something a little different and cap the Monday night card at Assiniboia Downs. Salutations and welcome, horse racing fans. I'm your episode to this Capping the Card special. My name is Matthew DeSantis, and you can find me on Twitter at the handle @FailDeMenace. We are obviously thrilled here at Trust the Profits to have a wonderful partnership with Assiniboia Downs. As you saw in the pre-roll, make sure to tune in on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a live stream, take you from race 1 all the way through race 7 and the end of the card. Going to have a lot of fun, going to have a variety of guests. We're going to be doing live betting, live handicapping, going to be updating you on all the StableDuel contests that are going on. And as an offshoot of that, one of the things that we're also going to be doing on a weekly basis is this show. Now, if you've been a fan of Trust the Profits, you know that I do Capping the Card every single week, where a guest and I or myself will just run through an entire card from the first to the last race, give you a top pick, top value play. Well, we're going to do that for Assiniboia Downs as well, because a lot of people get home from work on a Monday night and, they got a couple of hours to get ready for Assiniboia. Well, here, we're going to make sure we get you ready ahead of time. Like I said, we're going to go race 1 through race 7. I'm going to give you my top pick, my top value play in every single race. Those value plays, so important as you're thinking about entering the StableDuel contest, because you have that limited cap space in StableDuel where you just can't use all favorites. You got to use long shots as well. So you got to balance all of these things to put together the best stable to win some big time prizes. But like I said, make sure to press that subscribe button here on YouTube to get all of our Trust the Profits content. Make sure to like this video and let me know below in the comments what's your best bet, or what horse are you most excited about seeing run on Monday night at Assiniboia. I know which horse I'm most excited about running, and we're going to get to her in a little bit. But like I said, let's just dive into this one and talk through all 7 races. And like I said, this is a nice way of thinking about, if this is your first time watching Capping the Card, I give you a top pick and a top value play. This is a helpful way of thinking about how to play verticals, how to play horizontals. Obviously, some people just like to play my win bets or my top picks just straight up as win bets, and that's perfectly fine. But sometimes it's about considering a horse that maybe you had overlooked, including that horse in a vertical exotic or a horizontal pick 4, pick 5 sequence. And remember, that pick 4, $50,000 guaranteed pool out of Assiniboia. Can't beat that. Well, let's dive into race number 1 on the card on Monday, June 5th. This is going to be a lot of fun. And race number 1 is a $7,500 claimer going 5 furlongs for 3-year-old and up, and it is a state-restricted race. And there's a favorite in this race, the number 2, Zippin' to Impress, for Rick Wise, the trainer. I ultimately am moving away from that horse. That horse has had some nice works leading up to this race, but Wise is actually 0 for 5 career, bringing horses back from that long layoff. This race features almost exclusively horses coming back from long layoffs. And so I'd rather move to a more steadied hand or get a little bit bigger of a price rather than 9 to 5 morning line on Zippin' to Impress. And also, if you look at that horse, there's a couple of good performances in there, but there's also some questioning performances as well. And the horse is just not super consistent. Again, if I'm going to use a horse at 9 to 5, I want that horse to be consistent. As a result, I went to the far outside. I went to Get Up Early for Blair Miller, who also admittedly has kind of a not the best percentage coming back from 180 plus day layoff, but does have a little bit of success going back over a year. Obviously, you get Cumberbatch up on the ride, which is always, I think, a good move. I really like the last couple of works, bringing this horse back. This horse has been having very steady works for the last couple of months, and I like the last 2 5-furlong works. Goes 103 and 3, and then follows it up with a 102 1 5-furlong work on May 28th. So I like that last work. Here's the other thing. Every single running line in this horse's career makes a lot of sense. You look at the debut efforts and the maiden special weights, then goes and runs in a stakes race, finishes 3rd, comes back and drops down in class to a maiden claiming 12.5, wins that, then gets pushed up to a mile and an eighth. Does not run well in either of those races, but comes right back in a claiming 62.5 and runs a pretty decent race, runs a very close up third that day, then goes to the bench, obviously, as the season and the meet was over. But I think at 5-2, really like this horse a lot. Get Up Early is going to be my top pick. And I think, again, if this horse runs back to that September 20th race, if that horse runs back to the July 26th race, if that horse even runs back to his July 5th race of last year, probably good enough to win in here. So this horse has multiple races to run back to. And again, if you scratch out the two routing efforts, then there's a very clear progression and a very clear consistency that this horse does well sprinting. Now, from a value play standpoint, I do like the number 4, Jersey Shadow, trainer Marvin Buffalo. I love the guy. 36% on the year, and he's off to a hot start at Assiniboia Downs. It's a small barn, but he's got a couple of nice winners. He had a stakes win just last week, so definitely riding the hot hand a little bit here. 5-1 on the morning line. I think a really nice value. Again, a horse that has a lot of consistency. Yes, just broke its maiden last time out in a state-restricted maiden, claiming 5, wiring the field in sloppy conditions. But this horse has some other, the race before that, which was against Open Company and was maiden 5, was also, from a speed figure standpoint, not that bad. There isn't a ton in this race, and this feels like a hot barn. Jockey and trainer are working well together right now. This is a horse I feel like could take a step forward as a 4-year-old, actually. Still very lightly raced, only 6 career races. So I'm going to take a shot there with the 4 in race number 1 as my value play. Now, in race number 2, let's talk about this one. This is a very interesting race. There are 2 very heavy favorites in this one. If you want to look at the number 4 horse, Bite the Bullet Bro, 6-5 on the morning line, has a ton of speed. You know where this horse is going to be early, that's for sure, which is right up on the front end. Ultimately, though, I went to the number 6, who is 9-5 and technically the second choice for Carl Anderson. Part of the reason for that is with Bite the Bullet Bro, you could argue that this horse is stepping up in class a little bit. Race 2 is a $5,000 claimer going 5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. And this is a horse that has been running at that claiming 3,500 level and doing pretty well there. Won a state restricted claiming 5. But again, it has been running the last 3 times out before going to the bench and before the meet was over last year, running at that, claiming 3,500 level. So taking a little bit of a step up. Meanwhile, the number 6, Not Afraid, this is a horse that was running in allowance level company last year at Assiniboia, was running in claiming $10,000 races and winning those races, has won claiming $5,000 races before, and so has gone off as the favorite in almost every single race in this horse's career, is 10 for 13 in the exacta, 7 wins at Assiniboia, 9 for 12 in the exacta at the distance, 4 for 5 in the exacta with 2 wins. There's a lot to like with this horse. This horse also has very strong early speed, but can win sitting off. And that's why I like that outside post position for Not Afraid. Being able to be able to sit off, presumably sit off the pace of the 4 a little bit, and then be able to go late. But definitely like this one a little bit over the favorite, Bite the Bullet Bro. Now, in terms of my value play, I do like the number 5, Prairie Magic, 8-1 for Devin Giddens, and with Praven Badry aboard. And the reason I like this one, this feels like a great StableDuel horse. First of all, second back from the layoff, ran on May 22nd. So I like that this horse got one under his belt. That's, I think, very important. And now you're going to see presumably a little bit of progression. This horse did finish second back from the layoff last year in a similar spot. So this horse also has been running against bigger competition before, has run in stakes races, has run in allowance company, optional claiming company, even higher level claimers, and came back, ran a very close up 4th, finished 4th by 2 that last time out on May 22nd. I think there's opportunity for this horse to take a step forward for a very nice barn. Gittens, winning 17% of the meet, but also doing quite well in terms of 8 for 12 in the money. So 75% of his horses have hit the board in this meet. That's really saying something. So I'm going to use this horse as my value play. Absolutely going to be using this one in StableDuel for those contests on Monday. Now let's move to race number 3, which is a $10,000 claimer. And this is going 5.5 furlongs. So we're going out a little bit, but going 5.5 furlongs for 3-year-old and up, and it's for fillies and mares. And in this one, I'm going to be using a horse that I really liked a lot last time out, which was just a couple days ago, actually, on May 22nd. So this was a horse that was running in an optional claiming 10, is now running in a claiming 10. So, roughly the same level, but, technically a little bit of a step down, but ran against huge competition that day. Obviously ran against a horse, Kate's Princess, who we're going to be talking about later in the card, who's a huge favorite in that race that she's in later in race 5. But this is a horse that ran a really competitive third that day, second back from the layoff. Like I said, ran against great company. I very much so like the jockey trainer combination. Shelley Brown is the trainer, Ronaldo Cumberbatch. Those two are winning 22% of the time when they hook up. So there's a lot to like there. I think this horse actually picked up where it left off last year. And here's the thing, this horse had been running at Tampa and had a 2-month layoff before that May 22nd race, but it's not as if it's like some of these other horses out of Assiniboia that are coming back from 6, 7, 8-month layoffs. Coming back from a 2-month layoff, now second back from that period of time. So you'd imagine this horse will show its best version of itself now. Might not need quite as many races to run into shape, but very much so like this one. This one won a $8,000 claimer, non-winners of 2 starts ago at Tampa. So I think there's a lot to like here. I think the actual extra furlong, half furlong, might actually be beneficial to this horse who has good tactical speed, but can sit a few different trips. Finished third, like I said, in a 10-horse field last time out, 4-1 on the morning line, getting a little bit of value. Now, from a value standpoint, I am going to be looking at the number 2 favorite. And this is a horse that I like quite a bit, actually, in this spot at 10-1 in the morning line. Another great StableDuel selection, I think. You again get another Shelley Brown horse, this one with Jorge Carreno aboard. Can't argue with that. And this horse ran against some big competition last time, too. Ran against French Rose and Melisandre. If you watch Assiniboia Downs, you know those names, and those are some of the better fillies and mares that they have up in this division. So really like this one, coming down from an optional claiming 15, now dropping down into a claiming 10. So doing a little bit of a class drop here, has been running against, I think, a better caliber of horse recently at Assiniboia. Second back from the layoff, 4 for 7 in the money at the distance, 8 for 12 in the money at Assiniboia. Lot of things to like here. Again, this horse would suggest this horse is going to run a very honest race. And from a StableDuel standpoint, makes a ton of sense to include in your stables, and also makes a ton of sense to include in vertical exotics. Let's move to race number 4 on the card, which is a $7,500 maiden claimer going 5 furlongs on the dirt. And this one is for 3-year-olds and up, and it is a state restricted maiden claiming race. And this one is a little bit of a pedigree play on my part. And listen, there's some nice horses in this race. Shotgun One, who's the 5-2 favorite. Certainly there's some reasons to think that horse is going to run well, but here's the concern. The sire is very good with first out starters, but the dam is 0 for 4 with first timers. The trainer's decent first out and debuting at maiden claimings. The bullets weren't bad, but the 5 furlongs weren't great a couple of works ago. So I still have a couple of questions about how good the 2 is going to fire out of the gate. As a result, like I said, I went to the number 3, Mighty Frisky, 5-1 on the morning line from Michael Nault, who has some success with first out starters. You get Chavian Chow aboard. Obviously, those two have teamed up to win at a 21% clip. Here's what I like is Nault so far is 5 for 8 in the money at the Assiniboia Downs meet. So he's off to a pretty hot start. And the dam of Mighty Frisky, which is named Frisky Janelle, I actually knew a Janelle years ago who was a little frisky as well, but that's another story. But the dam, Frisky Janelle, produced a first out winner as well. And the sire is also very good. Tourist, who's a Tis Now sire, very good with first out winners at 3-year-olds and up. And that's a very important distinction to make, because I think a lot of times you'll see first out statistics. They'll look really good for 2-year-olds, and then those win percentages tend to really drop in terms of first time out at 3-year-old and up. Not the case with Tourist. So you have some precocity up top, you have precocity underneath. I like that on both hands. You're getting a really honest price at 5-1 for connections that have success at Assiniboia and have had success in this maiden claiming rank. So I'm going to use that one as my top pick. For my value play, I didn't really like anybody higher than 5-1. So I'm going to use a horse that's close to it, break on through the number 7 horse for Blair Miller, again with Neville Stevenson aboard, 4-1 on the morning line. There's some encouraging works that this horse has had. You go back, you look that May 28th work, a 102-1. You look at the May 20th work, a 103-3. There's some encouraging works. This horse, has worked with some nice ones as well, and it didn't run that bad first time out. Considering you got to consider a lot of things. Terrible break, so broke slow, and then veered inside and was on sloppy conditions, going 6 furlongs, which is a little bit longer than maybe this horse wanted to go on debut. Now this horse has built up a much more of a foundation, has had some nice works, is coming back. I think this horse makes a lot of sense in this spot as well. I like this horse, and there is some decent pedigree as well. Now, you can't always use the first out success, but there's some decent pedigree in terms of up top and underneath with this one. So Break On Through is a horse that I decided to, maybe use underneath, but I really do like this 3 Mighty Frisky quite a bit. I had some success with the first out maiden last week, and let's hope we can replicate it again this week. Well, let's move to race number 5 on the card, which is the race I am most looking forward to on the card for today. And that is the $10,000 optional claimer, going 5.5 furlongs for 3-year-old and up fillies and mares. And this features 2 of my absolute favorite fillies and mares in the division. And that is, of course, Kate's Princess, the 7-year-old mare, who is the even money favorite, and the number 7, Mia Bear, at 4-1, and the 4-year-old filly who has never finished out of the exacta. 8 career races, 8 career times in the top 2 with 4 victories. Listen, in this one, I'm going to end up going with Mia Bear. And part of it is because I just think Kate's Princess at even money, and I wouldn't be surprised if this horse actually gets bet down from even money. The gap between Mia Bear and Kate's Princess, I don't think it's as severe as the morning line would indicate. I know that Kate's Princess has some nice races to run back to. I know that historically, second back from the layoff, this horse has run extremely well. But, and there's always a but, this horse kind of just has consistently run at this optional claimer 10 level. Whereas when you look at Mia Bear, this is a horse last year came out as a 3-year-old and absolutely tore up Assiniboia. Won a stakes race by 13 lengths, okay? Came back to finish second by a nose when stretching out to a mile to a very nice filly Vignette, okay? Then followed that up with 3 consecutive open company races at optional claiming 15 with 2 wins and a second by a neck. I like this horse a lot. I like Mia Bear so much. Only had a couple of works leading up to this particular race. So maybe conditioning is a little bit of a concern. But again, at 5.5 furlongs, I'm not as worried about that. Mia Bear does not need the lead and can sit off a little bit. We saw that both in the stakes victory as well as in one of those optional claiming 15. Feels like this horse is actually stepping down a little bit in class. Speed figures would need to take a slight tick forward, just depending on what Kate's Princess runs. But listen, if you're on Kate's Princess, I'm not going to talk you off of that horse. Makes a ton of sense. But I just really like Mia Bear at 4-1. Now, another horse that I really like in this spot is the number 8, Savage Love. And this feels like a great StableDuel horse as well. This is a horse 4 for 5 in the money at the distance. This is a horse that is 7 for 9 in the money at Assiniboia. Very solid StableDuel play at 10-1, at 12-1. Only going to cost you in StableDuel $750. Remember, you have a $50,000 budget to select 10 horses. So you need some lower priced horses to fill out your stable, because some of those high priced horses, for instance, Kate's Princess at even money, is going to cost you $10,000 in your StableDuel account. And so that's going to obviously eat up a lot of cash, a lot of your fictional budget. So as a result, here we come back down to a 12-1 horse, only going to cost you $750. This horse just runs really consistent races. And that's kind of what I like. I actually like the 5.5 furlongs a little bit here for this particular horse. I know you could say, well, Dixie Moe, who's on the inside rail, has beaten this horse 3 of the last 4 times, with Savage Love beating her 1 of the other times. Yes, but I also think that's at 7 and 7.5 furlongs. I think we're now going back down to 5.5. I think that's more beneficial for this horse. I actually like this horse sprinting a little bit more, as where it started its career at Golden Gate. And I just think this makes a lot of sense. 12-1, you're getting a little bit of better value as well. Dixie Moe 8-1, still not a bad price, but 8-1 on the morning line. Again, a horse that is coming back down from optional claiming 15s and now running in an optional claiming 10. So definitely like Savage Love as a value play in race number 5. Well, let's move to race number 6, which is a stakes race. And this is the primetime TV stakes, going 5 furlongs for 3-year-olds. And there's definitely some primetime players in this race. Listen, the inside rail, Chicago's Gray, ran an absolutely huge effort last time out. Ran a 72 buyer speed figure, wired the field. I mean, was completely geared down and was just trotting across the wire, and still won by 8 lengths. Here's my concern. And by the way, we should say that went from the Lies Pruitt barn now to Murray Duncan as well. So there has been a barn change after that race. First of all, that was this horse's maiden victory. Horse is coming up from Oaklawn, Churchill Downs, so had been running in some really big races, no doubt about it. And then comes up here and just demolishes competition in the maiden special weight ranks. Now, this is the first time against winners. Inside rail, 8-5 on the morning line. I'm going to try to find something a little bit better. And as a result, I just went 1 slot out, which was to Saxon Saga. 7-2 on the morning line for Wendy Anderson with Ronaldo Cumberbatch. I took to the dirt very well. Had a very similar effort last time out at Assiniboia that Chicago's Gray had as well, in that went wire to wire, ears pricked, geared down, won easy, going 5 furlongs. This horse has been running regularly at Golden Gate. It has 4 career victories and 9 career starts. I like the fact this horse is just a multiple time winner. And I think that matters in this sort of a spot, and has running up against some, big time company in terms of running in some optional claiming 50,000 races at Golden Gate. And obviously was much the best in an optional claiming 15 last out at Assiniboia. Again, you're getting a slightly better price. I also think that the number 1 Chicago's Gray could get pressured a little bit from the outside, that there's a couple of horses that might want to push the pace. And I think that's something to certainly consider when looking at a price. Now, one of those horses that might be pushing that pace is Prairie Drifter. And this is the biggest price on the board at 15-1. But again, this is only a 6-horse field. And so from a StableDuel standpoint, this horse makes a lot of sense to use, because you actually get points for horses that finish in the top 5. So listen, all this horse has to do is beat one other horse and you're going to be okay. Here's the thing. This horse won a stakes race going a mile. So I don't have any questions about this horse's endurance and durability and stamina. This horse has had a very nice series of works coming into this race. You obviously have another Devin Gittins horse, and I just feel like this horse has never been out of the exacta at the distance and in its career. It's only finished first and second. Now, I know the speed figures are going to need to take a step forward, but this is the very definition of a horse that has done nothing wrong. 2 wins, 3 seconds in 5 career races. At 15-1, I'm absolutely going to use this horse underneath. I don't view this horse as a win threat, but this horse has shown up every single time out. And again, I think you're going to see a progression from speed figure as this horse steps up in class. Well, let's go to the final race on the card, which is a claiming race for $7,500, going 5.5 furlongs for 3-year-old and up. And listen, there are times where I'm handicapping and I'm not paying attention to the jockey and the trainer, or maybe the jockey more notably. And as I'm going through my top picks and I'm just doing them one at a time. And then all of a sudden I look down and I realize I don't have Antonio Whitehall's name on any of my top picks. And that seems like a mistake, because that guy's winning at a 30% clip on the season. So I ultimately did go with Whitehall in this final race. Jared Brown horse, you really can't go wrong with that, winning 27% on the season and is phenomenal getting horses ready off the bench. 43% win rate over the last year getting horses ready off the bench. Whitehall, like I said, 30%. These two, when they team up, are winning at a nice clip. And you're getting a 5-1 morning line price on this horse. That is 5 for 11 winning over the last season, mostly at Assiniboia, 5 for 10 in the money at this distance with 3 victories. Feel like this horse's best races have been this horse also very consistent. That's the other thing I like to see about this horse. That last race in 2022 was a little bit of a bump up, but you would expect that. Prior to that, though, this horse has been running mid to high 60 buyer speed figures every single time out. I like that. This horse has been through a number of very successful barns up at Assiniboia, from Jerry Gonu to Shelley Brown, back to Jerry, and then now back to Jared Brown. And so this horse, like I said, has been very popular in the claiming circuit, understandably so. Very useful horse, always gives an honest effort. So I like Dazzling Mischief at 5-1 in this race. And then from a value standpoint, I'm going to go to a horse that actually started in the Haskell Stakes and finished third in the Gio Ponte back in the day, and that is Roaming Union. 12-1. Coming out of the Robertino Diodoro barn, now being transferred to Tom Gardapi Jr. This horse has run well off the layoff. Listen, he's 8 years old, and maybe you think maybe the tank is starting to run empty here. But if you go back and look, this horse consistently runs well off the bench. And I feel like as horses get older, that happens more and more and more, that they need a little bit of rest. They need a little bit of time in between starts. And that's what you're getting with Roaming Union, a horse that's had some time off the bench for a while, hasn't run since last August at Canterbury, now gets to come here to Assiniboia, has some time off, has been training at Assiniboia regularly over the spring, has a few nice works in him, actually had a really nice bullet work in May 16th, the 36 flat 3 furlong work. So the horse still has a little bit of speed in him, I think. Now, doesn't run much at this distance, has been more of a horse that runs and routes. But I think this horse at 12-1, this is a horse I have a feeling is going to come running late. And I actually like the extra half furlong because some of these horses, at once they hit that 5 furlong mark, especially coming off a long layoff, might just be coming up a little bit empty. I'll also give a very quick shout out to an even bigger price, Short Rib, the number 5 at 20-1 for Jay Buffalo. That's one I really like with Sven Balrup aboard. That's another one that's got some sneaky races in him, and I think might just be good enough to make some noise here at a little bit of a price. So I think you can go price hunting in this final race a little bit. All right. Well, that is going to do it for me today on this episode of Capping the Card from Monday to Assiniboia. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and get ready for Monday Night Lights, 8 p.m. Eastern. Join myself, join some of the other guys here on Trust the Profits, and a rotating cast of guests from across the horse racing industry as we do live betting, live handicapping, get you ready for StableDuel, entertain you, and hopefully hit a lot of winners along the way. Until next time, friends, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races and reminding you that it's now post time.